All right, welcome to the Total Business Transformation Workshop. This is for transformational coaches, coaches that work in health, in mind body work, maybe kind of woo woo work that's a little hard to talk about and makes certain people get a little scared when you start to bring it up. And people that are really interested in their own transformation and personal development as well, and share a lot of that with their clients. It's all about, this workshop's basically about how to create up to a seven-figure coaching business that is aligned with your soul's purpose, using the ease and flow methodology that we will be getting into more later. This is very different than the kind of like step-by-step, well, just you throw these things up on Instagram, and that's not what we're talking about at all. It's not like that type of strategic thing. It's very different from that. And as we get into it, with me is the wonderful Kavita Singh. Kavita has made seven figures as a coach, and she's super awesome and worked as a coach for one of the biggest personal development companies out there. They had all these wonderful coaches and programs to choose from, and the people that worked there were like, I'd rather work with Kavita, actually. So that's who Kavita is. And she's also built her business through referrals and just kind of this quiet in the background thing, not 10,000 Instagram followers needed. So hi, Kavita. Anything else you want to say about who you are?
Thanks, Brian. Hey, everyone. Yes, I have enjoyed being the best kept secret in the industry and working behind the scenes. And at this point in the game, I'm at that stage where I'm choosing to be more visible and also playing it in a way that is in uh, a place that is deeply personal and transformational for me, and at the same time, very authentic and aligned to my beliefs and how I want to do it. So I think it's a fun challenge that I gave myself to see what that visibility looks like, while still keeping um, the things that I love. I'm never the kind of person who's going to do something just because this is what you should do. And you'll hear more about that as we go through this journey together. So thank you for being here.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Kavita. And I'm Brian McCarthy. I'm a certified fearless living coach and spent 8 years as a direct response marketer, writing for a lot of the top coaches in online business and personal development: Rhonda Britton, James Shramko, Ramit Sethi, whole bunch, Art of Charm, whole bunch more. And yeah, so we are working with basically, like, this is just a workshop we've put together based on the work we've been doing with coaches, helping them grow their business, keep their business aligned. It's really for people like, you're a coach, like you give amazing results. Maybe you struggle to talk about it, or it's time to like up level and go from like hit a wider audience. Maybe it's time, you can feel a shift that you've served one group of people, but now you're starting to feel called to serve another group, but that's scary. And how do you make that shift? And all the questions start swirling and all that stuff. Or like, yeah, you've got you have amazing results, but you're not getting the traction that someone of your talent really deserves. Like, you're getting great results, but you're still kind of struggling to get clients here and there. So it's for both of those types of coaches, and it's really going to be about how to elevate your business, really expand it, bring in the right people, and get it up to that high six-figure, seven-figure mark in a way that makes sense to you and fits into that ease and flow model, rather than just doing a bunch of stuff you don't work to build a business that you realize sucks, which is something that we've both encountered about a bunch of our coaching. So Kavita, let's just dive right into it. So let's say you're a coach that's listening to this right now. You've got all these ideas for like audiences to serve and things you could do. And you're like, oh, I help these people and those people also, and these other people over here. And this really excites me. All these ideas for offers and different audiences. And it can almost be paralyzing. Like, you're not even sure what to do or where to go. Like, what would you say to somebody who comes to you with that problem?
Yeah, first of all, I would say congratulations that all the ideas are flowing. So that's a good place to be in, right? Because some people are so stuck and they don't have that creative flow. So you're already crushing it with the ideas. The second step would be to capture those ideas in a place or in a meaningful way that is organized and you can find it. Because one way is to capture it, the other way is that you can find it back, right? So make sure you're covering both of those bases as you do that. And you will find, especially if you take the time to slow down and tune in, as you look at your list of ideas, that they, one or three or five may pop out at you and looking at the screen to be like, this one has more energy, it has more charge, and you can pay attention to like, well, what does that charge mean? Does it make me feel like my stomach is going into knots, or does it feel like a more exciting feeling, an uplifting feeling? Um, Sometimes it looks like, oh, I had a dream about this, or I had a sign about it some other place, and here it is that I'm seeing the idea come to life in this way. So whatever the stories that happen as you look at those ideas, pay attention to that because it's a little bit unique for every person, and that's the magic of it, anyways. And go with the one that has the most energy. Sometimes you will find that if you're looking at four ideas, for instance, that it merged into one idea actually. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes it's no, you've got to do this idea first, and maybe 2 months later you're doing the second idea. All right. So that sort of rhythm comes to you as you tune in to what's happening. But if you don't capture it, then you, having it just come through you like that and being excited about it can also make the energy fizzle out, and then you get depleted and you never really get to the finish line of any of those ideas. So pay attention to that. There is one nuance that I want to mention while we're here, and it is to make sure that the ideas that you're having, it's not uh, simply because you're inspired by somebody and then suddenly you're copying their ideas because it feels like a good thing. You want these ideas to come from you, from your own intuition, from your own inspiration. So somebody might inspire you, and that's good to receive and for it to nurture you in that way. But what I'm saying is try not to be a copycat in the industry. We already have AI doing all that stuff. Be original. So there's that.
But Kavita, what about when your inbox is full of 14 different people all saying, no, this is the one and only way to instantly make 10,000 or 50,000 or 100,000 a month as a coach. You must get on Instagram and do these 6 things, or you must start speaking and you use this formula. What about when you're getting 6 emails a day of each one promising the one and only true way to build a coaching business?
So, Brian, from your experience, you know that in marketing,
I wrote
that's one
those
of the
emails.
that's how you sell the thing, right? This is the one and only way. Um, but the thing about it is it's usually the case for the person representing the message. Like that has been their message, their formula, their journey, their strategy, whatever it is. And there is some truth to it where when you look at that formula, um, it is helpful, it is beneficial. Um, but I feel there are different groups of people and we're wired a little bit differently. So if it is that you have a similar mode of operating from like the person that you're reading their formula, or their method, um, then you can relate to it more personally, and some of that can glean off of you and it will work beautifully. Um, some people just use a formula, they run with it and it works. Yes, of course it works. But it's like think of it like being in a math classroom, and you've got a formula and you've used it and you got the answer and it's great. And so you're being like the obedient student. You did the thing, you got the result. But then if somebody threw you in a different situation where you have to apply the same principle of that formula, you have no clue because all you did was copy the formula, right? So the copying happens here too where it's not good. Just really pay attention to what's happening for you and what it means for you. So, Brian hears me speak a lot about nuances because that's part of my superpower. Um, you will get mentors and people around you that complement who you are. And so much of the information can look similar, but it is not exactly your blueprint. And the journey here is to find out what makes you unique and how you function, and then have whatever you're doing in your business be supported by you in that way. Um, and then that's where people enjoy it. They can be like, oh, this is why I prefer um, this movie theater over this other movie theater, for instance, right? It looks the same on the outside, but there's something about it that makes it better. The location, the people, the service is something. Same thing with you. While many factors can look similar, it's about what makes you unique that makes all of this really work and makes it enjoyable and pleasurable. It's not just about uh, making a transaction. And we'll talk about that in a bit.
Yes. Yeah. And so you talked earlier about like kind of checking in with yourself to see like where you get all the ideas. And then you talk like, yeah, some of the formulas can be helpful, like maybe kind of for what phase you're at or like what kind of resonates with you. Like you can even check in and see that resonance and see what's like really sticking. Um, and I also wanted to tie this. You also like brought up like energy, right? Like the energy around it. And you've brought up to me before of like the importance of the energy you use to start your business with. And a lot of times people come to you and they've got these big businesses, and you kind of rip a lot of things up because the foundation that it's all built on was crap. And you're like, actually, we need to go like create a whole new foundation, and then we're going to start building from that. So it's like very big kind of like upheaval change that happens in their work with you. So can you talk a little bit about that, like the importance of the right energetic foundation and what that means and looks like, and what happens when that goes wonky?
Yes. What I've seen in the industry in the past 10 years that I've been helping a lot of people is if, for instance, they build their business with a hustle energy and a hustle mentality, then they need to keep hustling to make the business work. And one of the ways in which I, tell my clients, it's like you've made your business, you've created a monster basically with your business, and now you've got to feed that monster. So you're busy scrambling every day to, keep all these things alive and all the wheels turning and all of that. And then, you lose sight of why you started this in the first place. And now it feels like, yes, I've left my corporate job and all the perks and all the benefits to become an entrepreneur, but here it is. It feels worse than my employee days because now, I might be doing 10, 16, 20, whatever hours a day versus um, what I used to do as an employee. So, those are things to pay attention to. Of course, with the entrepreneurs, they wouldn't want to trade it for the world because this is the thing that they love to do, and they want to do it. It's just that they started it in a way that is not healthy and it's not fulfilling and it's not nurturing. It's like having another child and then having to pour into it, right? So it's more draining. And when you start from a pure energy of really paying attention to what that seed idea is that you got, um, what was your inspiration, how that idea came to you, and how it wants to be birthed, and how you want to nurture that and bring it into this reality, and how you want it to impact the people around you. You start to be really intentional about your choices and the way that you build each wing of your business. And so you're making sure that um, it continues to feel nourishing to you and to flourish. And it's not to say that everything is a bed of roses and all goes smoothly.
What?
Um,
All right, I'm out of here.
there are going to be challenges based on your own stories and your own beliefs and limiting beliefs also. And this is part of the journey where you get to build a business and up level as a human being. Um, and so in my experience, when you're able to recognize both faculties and to um, harness them, it becomes a priceless experience because um, it's not like a teacher in a school where you're trying to teach kids and then they grow up and they become the next president and you're still the teacher. I've seen some teachers have resentment towards that because they feel like they're stuck in this box doing this job, and then all these kids are passing through them and becoming better somebodies, and there's just this one teacher person that people forget. Um, so yeah, in your business, you're able to evolve and have your business match that energy, evolve with you, and even if your business is going at a rapid speed, you're able to have the capacity to handle the foundations and the expansion of your business. So did I answer your question, Brian?
Yeah. Yeah. Going back to the beginning of it. Yeah. I've seen that exact same things, in all the companies, not all, but, a lot of the big shot personal development and online business companies that I work for. And they were started with that hustle energy. And now that they're big and they still have that hustle energy and they're still very like just constantly putting out fires and then putting the image of everything's great, like that kind of stuff can happen. And again, I've worked with people who like that's legit how they are back there. And it's there is that match of like what they're presenting is what they actually are. Yeah. So instead of having that energy of like, well, I got to make 10 grand next month, or well, that person's making all this much, so I got to match them. Like if that's your energy to start with, that's just going to be carrying with you. And then even once you, make it or whatever, hit that thing, you're like that energy is still running the show versus getting into what's like nourishing and feels good and what's true and authentic to you. And then you get that place, like you were saying, which you're demonstrating right now yourself, of like, you're using your business not only becomes to fund your lifestyle, make your impact, live your purpose, it's also a vehicle for your own growth and development. And you gave the example of you're doing that yourself right now with like this workshop as a way for you to start playing with visibility and sharing all these ideas in this work that you've been doing quietly one-on-one and in your membership. And now it's like, all right, let's start talking to some of the the muggles out there and see how this goes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to add to that where it's like, yeah, because I've worked with the big names, and I've also done a lot of behind the scenes work, and even with my clients, I've played a lot of roles in being by their side and uplifting them and giving them their spotlight and having them flourish in that way. And I've never really taken the time and space to uh, simply create a platform where people can just learn and benefit and run with it. Um, because much of my work has been about transformation. So there is a death and rebirth process that happens. And usually I would want people to be in a container when that's happening so that they can get to the other side of that experience. Um, but of course, Brian, you've also been by my side to encourage me to be like, yeah, say that thing. Of course, people can understand that and run with it, and it doesn't have to always be in a particular container. So this is also part of all of that collaboration where, you listening get the benefit from the conversation and take the parts that are inspirational for you, or the nuggets that, you're happy to hear it being said differently or said in an angle that you never thought of before. And of course, we'll also create a space for questions if any questions come up.
And that was that last thing just reminded me of something you taught me before, of like, sometimes you hear the same message 15 times, but it's that this special time it resonated with you. And you're like, yeah, that's because that time the person telling you that message actually embodies it. And that can be part of the resonance too. So yeah, we'll see if that happens for you listeners at any point during this. And then, so another thing that I wanted to get into, I think we're going to start wrapping up soon. But again, like going back to, you're a coach, you got all these ideas, maybe a little unsure of what to do. And then you can, like, you talked about like the reflection process and all that. And another thing that we've talked about that could apply here is this idea of creating like a functional transaction business versus one that's aligned with your soul's purpose. And the soul's purpose, that's what we've been helping people do, of, get to kind of the core of, well, what's their soul's purpose? How does that become reflected in this moment of time in their business? And then how can they kind of grow with it, versus the transactional business, which is like hey, let's, use this guy's formula and see what happens. So can you talk a little bit about that, like the difference between like a business when you're following your soul's purpose versus the transactional functional one?
Yep. I think if people start their businesses from a place of, I want to try something, see if it works. They may unconsciously fall into that transactional or functional part of or model of their business, where they're following the formula of, well, there's a need in the market. I have a skill, let me fulfill that need, and here it is, it's functional, and they're doing a thing that they're good at. Nothing is wrong with that in its sense. But at some point, you're going to get tired of doing that kind of work, right? You're like, "Eh." So, so at some point, you're going to start to either resent the kind of work that you do, or resent the people that are coming to you for that work. Because, it also happens in this sort of done for you models, right? Where people come and they're like, oh, well, I want this, and you do it for them, and they're like, cool, and they go along. But there's never any real depth and relationship that happens for the most part. Some people are changing that and making better structures for that now, but that's one thing that happens. The transactional one, in my lens, is even more icky in a sense, because what happens is that when you're making the sale and the money comes in, after that money comes in, you will find that it just feels blah and lifeless, and you only get a high when you get paid. Other than that, there's no energy that lights you up, that fuels you, that really brings out your spirit of wanting to serve, to make a beautiful impact on the planet, to really help somebody in that transformational journey. It's just a transactional thing. And yes, again, it works if it's a product or something that you're selling that doesn't need a relationship behind it. But for transformational coaching, it definitely requires you to have that relationship skill. It requires you to understand the ugly parts of where your client is at, and the thing that needs to be transformed to get to the other side. And it becomes a very nurturing and fulfilling journey when that it's a beautiful match between the mentor and their client, and what that looks like. And again, that's where I come back to the point of it being priceless,
Yeah.
because no amount of money can really cover the transformation that happens within that space that's created and between those two people.
Yeah. And well, you just described me when I was a copywriter, and every single copywriter I know of eventually hitting that point of realizing, like, wait, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, yeah, the paychecks can be fun, but then I'm like, eh. And then so also, yeah, again, going back to like, so like the functional business, the other thing that you've talked about with me before, of like, sometimes I can work really well. Like sometimes the soul's purpose, like it could take longer to kind of get that external like fruition. And sometimes the transact, like, yeah, you can spot a need and fill the market and like, hey, you're a millionaire in a year and a half or whatever. Whereas this other person's kind of like doing more deeper work in like personal work to get to where they need to be. Or it can be the opposite, because once you're aligned with kind of what your purpose is and who you are, things can really click and take off, especially because you've got more energy around it and excitement. And, sometimes the functional stuff isn't working because, in part because, yeah, it's not like aligned with anything deeper. It's just you going through the motions that worked for some other dude. So, hey, try it. Why not try it, I guess.
Right. So the point in all of this is that the transactional and functional choices are really short-term choices at the end of the day.
Mm,
And that period of time is dependent on the person, dependent on the market, dependent on whatever you're doing. But ultimately, you want to do something that really lights your soul up and nourishes you, and where you feel really amazing in having that impact. And, Brian, I'm glad you mentioned that you were that part of the journey too and having that experience. And I've also seen when you've done these transformational calls that we've shared together with some of our clients, how lit up you've been. And you're like, this is the best kind of thing ever. And, that makes my heart so happy because that's what it's about. Like, those feelings are priceless. So, yeah, I just wanted to put that in as well.
great. Yeah. Thank you, Kavita. And yeah, one last piece I just wanted to cover. So, because sometimes like your soul's purpose, and this goes back to like the energy you're starting your business with, right? Like, can you go into the soul's purpose, or sometimes it can slip into ego, like it's coming maybe out of fear, or out of like, there's that I want to be better in comparison to these other people. But what you're doing is like a good service for humanity. So you can kind of mask it as, no, it's about impact and I want to help people. But deep down, it's kind of like an ego driven thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else that comes to mind of kind of discerning when is something actually coming from my soul versus is this just an ego trip? And what's the importance of making that discernment?
Got it. What I found in the past 10 years as well is that many people, when they start this, they start with good intentions, right? Pure intentions. You got a great idea, you're doing the thing. Um, and then what happens is along the way, you get so caught up with all the pieces and all the people and all the everything. It can start to feel like I've got to keep up, or I've got too much happening, overwhelmed. You go through all these normal human emotions. Um, and then you figure out your rhythm, and then you're on top of the world and you're crushing it and, making all the numbers. And then you're an entrepreneur. So you will go through ups and downs and in the journey, right? And then you go through some other phase, and then you get yourself up again, and then you're rocking it again. And in that process, um, now that you're in a space where you've been there and done that, I think your ego takes over. And it's sometimes hard to notice it when it first begins to happen. So it's like, yeah, well, now I got to show the world I'm the best of the best, because that's what the game is about, right? I gotta, I gotta show that I am the expert. And again, well, there's some truth to that. The way that you go about it really makes a difference. So if it is that, um, these are patterns I've seen with people, right? Like, and again, no judgment here. It's just a part of the human journey. And if you're aware of it, then you can do something about it. And if you're not aware of it, hopefully in this conversation, you now become aware of some of the things. Um, so the behavior can be like, oh, but I don't want to deal with that set of people because XYZ, whatever the judgment is. Or, oh, those people are all fancy because they're making whatever your marker is, the numbers, or they're in a certain elite group or whatever. Again, your brain wants to go towards. So I need to get myself over with that set of people, right? And so right there, it's an ego game, because it's all about appearances, and keeping up with the Joneses or Kardashians or whoever else you want to say, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the game that you start to play. And so without realizing it, you're either judging yourself or comparing yourself to yourself, an older version of yourself, or to others. And that's the whole ego game right there. When you're coming from a place, and this is why we talk so much about alignment and that sort of soul purpose, when you're coming from that place of that pure inspiration and you've been guided to create something and it's your idea, you can't really be measuring yourself against anybody else because it's your unique idea. And it will look a little bit different from your colleague, right? But um, you're able to do what you need to do and you're able to support your colleague whenever you feel called to it. So I'm not talking about people pleasing again here, or, just I should support my friends, or you need to be honest about your feelings and whatever you're experiencing. And once there's that honesty and transparency in your journey, um, that is a much more healthy way to show up versus the ego trip, because um, you're going to start either burning the candle at both ends, or you're going to start stepping on toes or burning bridges, and behaving in a way that's not in service to humanity, um, or you might even somehow start to go against your own message if you continue that trajectory long enough. So those are some things I've seen. I hope that answers the question, Brian.
Those are some things I've experienced and worked in those situations. Yes. And it also sounds like it's not just getting that energetic foundation. It's like, and then as you grow, it's not just like you get the foundation, then you're good. It's like, no, you get the foundation and you keep an eye on it. And it's because so you don't get, pulled off track with shiny ego stuff. And following that as it turns and evolve, which for many people listening is where you're at right now, which is why you're going like, I've served these customers for all 20 years, but suddenly I feel like it's time for me to move on. Like, that's part of it. And then is there anything else you just want to say before we go, of like you use the word like pure, like the pure intentions of like
Mhm.
what that means, or is there anything else? Because you've said it a
Yeah.
couple times in my life with you. So
Yes. Um, I mean, like your own thoughts are not breaking up that thought that comes in as a how you want to say it, download, or as an inspiration or as an insight, whatever, however it comes to you. Because when your mind gets in the way, to be like, but is that really true? Maybe we should do it that way. Or I saw it was done this way in a TV ad, and maybe if I do it like that, I'll have more traction. If I get this person involved, I would have more credibility. I don't know, whatever. I'm making up some things here, but that's how the mind can go. And then you miss the whole point of how that thing was meant to be seeded in the first place, And the cool thing about following your intuition and using going through those guided actions without your mind interfering is that you can't really tell the next 5 steps of how it's going to go. But because you did that guided action, it takes you to a space or an experience that you could not have come up with on your own. It's beyond your wildest imagination. And that's one of the secrets of behind my business, where it's just amazing how those parts work out. I never could have imagined it this way, but because I did it from that place of purity, it works out beautifully.
yeah. Oh, yeah, I love that. Like you get kind of the pure download, and it's like put it out there. Quit. Like don't overthink it. Don't ask your mastermind and then get 20 different ideas for how to all the changes, and then you like turn what was once this beautiful thing like into a Frankenstein mess because it's like no, it was good as it was. And even
Exactly.
that doesn't necessarily mean like, and then you put it out and make $1 million because like but it is like kind of the next step in the path, sort of however it works out, and being able to see that and trust that and go like, like again, getting back to like ease and flow, like that's the part of it, of getting the download, putting it out, versus the like, oh, I got to struggle to figure out how to write 5 ideas about this topic that I'm told is the topic. This is what SEO says is the main thing I need to talk about, whatever the fuck it is, right? Like, all that kind of struggle versus like, oh, just get the idea and follow it. How about that?
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
Cool. Yeah. And that's a lot of our work. So this workshop kind of mirrors the total business transformation work that we do with coaches. So this episode is more about like kind of getting that clarity, connecting to your soul's purpose. We got 4 more episodes coming. I'm going to scroll down on my notes so I can see what they're about. The next one's about like confidence. How do you get to the point where you can charge 10 grand a month from just one client for coaching? Like confidence around your coaching, around your pricing. Yeah, what can get in the way there. The next episode after that is about your messaging and your marketing, how to state what you're doing clearly in a way that resonates, and marketing in ways that work for you. So again, you're not just kind of blindly following what is good for somebody else. Episode 4 is going to be about your business model, building a business that's aligned with your soul's purpose and in your zone of genius. And then episode 5 is about the pivots and the burn it all down moments and how to navigate that stuff. Because some of you might be feeling that right now. So yeah, that's the roadmap. And then that's what we got coming now. It's also the bigger work of what we do with clients over a little over a year. And for people who want to do more stuff right now, we also have a couple options. You can go to mccarthymindsetcoaching.com/digital-detox. So that's a little thing I put together. It's just a digital detox to help like open up your space, declutter your mind, declutter your world. Open yourself up to get more of those downloads, have more time to act on them, because you're not, just wasting time on nonsense like Instagram and scrolling and all these things that just fill our brains and just often just make us feel more behind, because now we're just looking at all these other things that we don't know or can't do, and everyone else is so fancy and pretty, and why can't we be like that? So if you want a little bit help with that, you do that now. And then Kavita's got a little something too, which I've done, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I've got a little offer called Activate Your Wealth Frequency. It definitely helps you to increase your capacity to receive. And you can go to courses.alchemyoforigins.com and you will find that. It's at this point of the recording, it's $10. And it's a beautiful experience for you to go through to increase your capacity to receive, increase your ability to manifest, increase your ability to get even more in tune with who you are, and be able to hear those intuitive hits and those sort of guidances and those things. So definitely I'd recommend that you do that experience if it is that you're in a space to really go deeper into stillness and want to expand from there. But if you feel that your mind has already got too much going on and you've got too much baggage on your shoulders already, then you should start with Brian's Zone before you get over to doing my challenge. So that's how it works. You're supported in both spaces. And yeah, if there's something else that comes up as you're listening to this, or any other questions that cross your mind, you can comment at the bottom of this video or audio, wherever you're finding it from. Or I'm sure there's an email address that you will also have access to that you can always hit us up with.
All right, thank you. Yeah, and I've done Kavita's challenge, and it was amazing. It really helped me see the ceiling that was on my own ability to receive, which, wonder if that had an impact on income I was able to make or love I was able to feel and receive from other people. Wonder if physically not being able to receive that is getting in the way of anything. So, and yeah, it was wonderful. It was also way more challenging at certain parts. Like it was lovely, and yeah, there's one piece in particular right around day 5. It'll make you pee your pants a little bit, but give it a go. Yeah, and as of right now, my digital detox is free. Just asking for once you join to give like a $20 donation to whatever charity you want. Just get a little skin in the game and make life better for people. So that's it. So stay tuned for our next episode on confidence, building your confidence in what you do and how to talk about it and how to charge. And I don't know, we'll see where this video is. There's probably somewhere to click. Just start clicking on the screen and maybe it'll pop up. All right. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
All right. Bye for now.